Okay. Welcome to the first edition of Martin's movie review. I've got the AMC uh, A list pass, so I watch everything, no matter how good or bad I expect it to be. I go see it. This was no exception. I didn't really read anything in advance in regards to the invitation. Um, at first, my initial thought was it was going to be like, what's the movie? Was the not Margot Robbie? Basically, who she is. What's the old girl name? Samara Weaving, something like that. I think she's that the dude from The Matrix's daughter or niece or something like that, right? So, so I was with it, you know. I thought it was going to be that essentially, just based off of the one trailer I saw. So I was like, all right, whatever, cool. Um, it stars the one black girl from Game of Thrones, the chick. She got her head cut off. Spoilers if you haven't seen that. She was a slave. They made every black person a slave in Game of Thrones. So even in like a world of dragons and mythical uh creatures and shit, they were still like, nah, niggas is slaves though. Y'all gotta, And granted, uh, the cat lady, I forgot her name, the chick who raises dragons. She let all the black people go or something, and they fought for her, and then most of them died, and then she died. You know, I wasn't really that. I didn't watch that much Game of Thrones, so I don't listen to me. I do know that the girl who was in that, and then she played like the smart woman who Ludacris and Tyrese fight over in the Fast and Furious franchise. She was the lead in this movie. So yeah. So also I was late to the movies, so I missed whatever the first. I didn't see the opening credits. I missed Nicole Kidman uh, giving a commercial for the theater we're already in. It is what it is. Regardless, uh, off bat, you see that Game of Thrones lady, and she has like a sassy black friend. Like she's black, but like her friend is like clearly like, you better be careful, girl. You know how white people are. Like that's the whole her whole dynamic, her whole exterior, her whole being is telling Game of Thrones to watch out for white people and mysterious white people. And then she get, Game of Thrones gets like uh, this like this message on IG where she's like, or whatever. I don't know, some like text or whatever, right? A LinkedIn message, and it's this white dude who's like, "Hey, turns out we're cousins, right?" So she just lost her mom to cancer. Her dad died when she was 14. She's going through the story. She meets with this dude for lunch. He's excited. He's like, "The whole family knows about you. We're all like just super jazzed to see you." Uh, Also, there's going to be a wedding coming up. We want you to go to this wedding. It's like right outside of London, whatever, whatever. So she's like, "Oh, I don't have the money." And that should have, for most people, I feel like that would have been like she didn't ask like, "Oh," she didn't say nothing about a passport or any of that shit. She just was like, all right, I guess, what I got nothing else going on. Like she didn't say she had to call off for work, none of that shit, right? I guess they just cut all that out. I'm just thinking of like, when I went to London, there's a lot that I had to do in advance to going to London. She packed one suitcase, whatever, right? So the sassy black friend was telling her like, "Hey, girl, make sure you take a picture of the license plate. Make sure you do this, that, the third. When you get there." She's very, she's very careful with what she wants her friend to do. Right? Beautiful. Um, She gets there, right? And first thing that happens, we're introduced to like 5 maids who have no names. They literally just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 written on them. And I was like, oh, they're gonna kill the fuck out of all these chicks. Right? Like they don't even have. Not giving them names. They don't even get names. They're dying. They're dying. They're gonna fucking die. As usually, if you were ever watching a movie, right? Be it horror, action, any type of film, and a character is introduced with no name, that motherfucker's gonna die. Or if the name's just like a last name. I was just watching Predator 2, right, with Danny Glover, and as soon as they introduced like Bill Paxton and like the Latin gang and the Jamaican gang, and they were like, that's Snake or whatever the fuck, right? I was like, they're gonna die. I digress. So she's introduced to the butler. Butler's mean to her. He's rude to the because she bumps in. She's trying to take a picture of the license plate, bumps into one of the matrons or into one of the what do you call them? I just said it. One of the maids, and like they smash a bunch of glasses and stuff, and then the like handsome white dude. He has like a very chiseled jaw. He's like, oh, don't mind him. He's quite a rude bloke sometimes. He's very charming and polite and all this. So she's taken aback by him. He's a very handsome dude. I get it. He's in shape. He's standing up he's got a full like, the whole nine. That's this guy. So she's smitten. She's telling her friend about it. They have like a study, right? They have a library, and the butler's like, don't go into the study because that's where it's currently it's being processed. It's on the renovations. For the record, dude didn't really sound like that, but I got like 6 British accents. I can't remember what he sounded like exactly, but he was British. He was very British. So I need to worry about. So old boy warns her, but like later on, he's like lining up all the maids. He makes one of them go clean up the library. My initial thought is, like, you just said it's on the renovations, and you're not supposed to go in there. Like, what do you expect her to clean, right? She goes in, earbuds in and stuff. She's dusting and whatnot, and then mysterious ghoul appears, and it's a very PG-13 sanitized movie. All right, like if you're going in looking for like F-bombs and titties and blood shed and all this stuff, it's not where you're going for. This is a movie for like kids to go to, not kids, but like high schoolers to go to after school, and wow, that kind of thing. So then the girl wakes up the next morning. Not the maid. She's presumably dead. Presumed dead in this scenario. But our protagonist, Game of Thrones, still smitten by the dude. They were introduced to like these 2 other characters, these 2 chicks who are like, one super tall. She looks like the lady from Resident Evil Village, and then like a real short blonde lady. And they're like, who's this new bit? Like, one's cool, and like the short one's cool. The tall one is like rude to everybody. And then the dude is like still handsome white man. Is still very like, hey, wow, you're stunning. Everyone is here for you. This kind of thing, right? I haven't met the bride and groom yet. No one's really mentioned them. So if you went in looking for a wedding movie, it's not really about that. This is not My Best Friend's Wedding. It's not that. Okay. It's not Runaway Bride. That's what you're looking for in the invitation. None of that. So she ends up like kissing the guy, and they're flirting some more. And then two of the maids are sent to the wine cellar to get this really rare hidden bottle of wine. And I'm like, man, that's at this point, I'm like, everything keeps happening in the dark. These niggas is vampires. Like that was the at this point when I see like they do, they're doing like the a lot of like long nails and shit like that. I was like, oh, these niggas is vampires. Okay, cool, got it. But like they haven't revealed it yet, and they don't even really say vampire till the very end of the movie, which I would have preferred that they just didn't say it at all. Like I think that would have held more weight to it if they just were like, you know, no, we are what we are, or whatever, right? Uh, like he said, he was from the lineage of Nosferatu, shit like that. But that's like later on in the movie. Don't worry about that part now. So she she ends up like hooking up with the dude because she's trying to leave after she sneaks into the library and sees he has like a Facebook profile on her and shit. And like show that she had no criminal record. And he was like, oh, well, it's just because, I had to find out about you, and plenty of people have tried to take advantage of me because of my money. I have no redeeming qualities like that. That was an actual line. I wasn't saying that as him to be rude. That was something he said in the movie. At this point, you're like, okay, these niggas is definitely vampires. Like, he's on Facebook. They have no. He's not even on Facebook. He like sent a dude to go on Facebook to find her. So it was like, okay, they're all fucking vampires. Cool. Or some of them are, not whatever you call the people underneath vampires. I forgot what they call them and what we do in the shadows, but they were that. They were the people who have to serve vampires, and he was like clearly the head vampire. He's too charming. He's very, like passively sexual and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is like a feminist icon movie, but with vampires or whatever, right? Because she's talking about her independence and all this shit. After he like kind of says we should get married, and he's just very like forward with like his intentions of being with her. And she's like, well, that's it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, because granted, however handsome this dude is, anybody who like literally within meeting you of 2 days is like, can't wait for you to live here and spend your entire life here. Most people would have like she had a cell phone. She could have just I would have called out right then. Like, now we're not doing this. Um, that's just me. I can't speak for all the other people out there who may be lovelorn and whatnot. So she ends up hooking up with the dude, with the vampire guy. Uh, they also keep alluding to someone who lived there long ago, but who recently died, some shit like that. They went into it, but they didn't really. It's not that big of a deal, anyways. So next thing you know, he's like, all right, we're doing a rehearsal dinner for the wedding. She goes there. She's like, where's the bride and groom? And he does like this big announcement saying that they're the ones that are getting married. And then his nails become all vampire-y. And like he already had like the teeth kind of. So I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, you'll be this is like the exposition dump where he's like, you'll be the fourth bride. These two, the tall girl and the blonde girl, are already my brides. And then when you join the bride, the family lineage will be complete for immortality. I don't know what the fuck it meant. All right, it was something weird and vague, but it is what it is. So she's like, no, I don't want that. And mind you, his proposal to her at this point was like, you get immortality, you'll never get sick, you have endless wealth, you can also go out in the sun, you get food, you have all these servants, and you get like essentially superpowers, right? Like you're just more powerful than a human. Uh, which later on you find out like she wasn't even that much more powerful than like an old dude, whatever. But that's where I think I would have been sold. I'd have been like, oh, I can what I'd have questions at least like, well, what kind of powers are we talking about here? Like, can I like fly? Can I jump higher or something? Am I capable of like how much blood do I have to drink? Like, what are the rules here? I need like a list of the rules before, committing, but I think she was already in too deep anyway, so it is what it is. So then they like slit another witch's throat and drain it, and they all like drink the blood, and they do like the like extreme close up stuff from like you remember like how Beastie Boys music videos used to be like whoa like that. So it's like that, but all the white people are eating lobsters and shit like that. So she she manages to get. Well, no, she doesn't even escape. She tries to escape. They're like, you're not. Where are you gonna go? This is our house. We live on the countryside in a mansion. She's screaming and stuff. Help me! It's like, why are you? You know where you are. What does that do? And she had left her cell phone and shit like that. So she she ends up getting locked in a casket by the other two brides. But one of the like this old school maid freezer, and the old school maid's like, yeah, your great grandmother was a friend of mine. So the great grandmother used to be married to the dude, but she like had a baby out of wedlock with a black guy, and then she killed herself because she didn't want to be a vampire. But like she chose, like she waited like hundreds of years to do it, apparently. So they like searched Game of Thrones down in order to get her to be the new version of the woman or whatever. Lady Freezer, she escapes. She ends up locking the butler into this ice closet. The old lady gets killed, cleaver to the head. She also sees like the two other dead bodies and stuff, and then she gets knocked out, right? So she ends up getting drugged back. Vampire dude's like, yeah, you thought you could get away, but it's not how it works here. So they end up having to get married, and so they're at the wedding ceremony. He says, "I do." She's like, "Yes," but like they show you, you're not really show, which was good. They didn't do like a flashback. I mean, they did in some other scenes, but not in this one, where she remembers that she can get like superpowers essentially if she drinks his blood, but the ceremony is only complete if he drinks her blood as well. So she drinks his blood and she like really digs into it, or she's like, oh, and then he's like, whoa, slow down, my love. There'll be plenty of time for that. Right. Drinks his blood, gets superpowers, stabs him in the heart, sets some shit on fire. Everyone freaks out, runs away. She gets into a fight with the Resident Evil Village vampire lady, who ends up knocking her out like quite easily. Just fucking pushed her, and she was knocked out. Then the blonde, the tiny one, gets into a fight with the big lady. They double stab each other on a statue and then turn into dust. Now, mind you, here's where I was a little bit confused, because the old lady had told Game of Thrones, like, hey, the only way to kill them is you have to cut their head off or set them on fire. And I was like, man, we're about to see a lot of beheading, but that went out the window super quick. They just, got stabbed. Oh yeah, I forgot there was a part where she does. So when she does escape, she runs to like this old village nearby, and the one place she runs to is this old couple where they keep trying to get her to drink some tea. Very Get Out referencey. And she's like, she throws the tea into the dude's face, this old man's face, after noticing that they're in a picture, like an old ass picture with the vampire guy. So the woman the old lady knocks her out, and they just bring her back. And that's when she wakes up and does the whole wedding thing. Whatever. So basically fighting her way through. Two vampire ladies are dead. The butler tries to stab her. He's like, I knew that you were going to be trouble. You were not our kind. And it's also like, kind of like borderline, like racist implications in it and stuff too. I get it. And then she kills him. She just stabs him. She like, but he was like he like really dug in on her. And I was like, wait, her powers are not. She's not that strong. Like, this dude is not. He can't be over. there's no way he's like under 60 years old, and he's like getting a good stab in. But she fought back, stabbed him, killed him. He's dead. I think he was like a regular human because he didn't turn into dust. So then the main vampire dude, the handsome Nosferatu, now he's like old, right? He's old and withered because he didn't get her blood and he got stabbed, so he's wounded. And she front drop kicks him into a fire that she set earlier. But the fire is now spread throughout the house. No one tried to put it out. No fire extinguishers in this home. In a place where one of the few things that could kill you. And you have candles set up everywhere. You have lamps and all this shit. But you don't have a fire extinguisher or like any form of water. There wasn't even like a bucket of water around. Okay. Like this place was not a smoke alarm, fire, none of that shit. Front drop kicks dude in the fire. He's up in flames. And then she like slow motion walks out of the building mind you, she left her passport. She didn't go get her cell phone. She went upstairs, I believe, at some point and grab any of that shit. Nothing. Can't call nobody. Can't leave the country. None of that. So the cousin who had brought her over there, you see him on the phone later, and he's like, yeah, luckily everything was destroyed, all the evidence. Which is like, bro, why would you say this shit on why would you say this on a cell phone? Have you never watched any Criminal Minds YouTube channel? Whatever you do on the phone, they can track it. They track all the shit. Whatever. So then that's my dog. So Game of Thrones now has she's sporting like a haircut, like a Van Helsing haircut. And the black girl, I guess, has somehow got in contact with her and flown over. And she's like, girl, I told you he is white, or something like that. And then she was like, remember, stick to the plan. And I guess they're just gonna kill this dude in his office. I don't know. It was like supposed to be like a post thing, whatever. But she the black lady pulled out a bat from nowhere. I don't know where this bat came from. I don't know when she found time to buy an aluminum bat on her trip to London. She has a bat now. And even Game of Thrones is like, yo, where'd you get a bat? And she's like, well, don't you think it's a little ironic? They're vampires, have a bat. And I do the credits. Like, that was the last. You don't see them murder this guy with a baseball bat, I guess. Which, like, also, how do they plan to explain that to the cops or whoever? Like, what's the plan? Like, what was their plan here? I wanted to see that scene. I feel like that, maybe if they do a sequel, Invitation 2, it's just them getting their revenge. They're inviting people into this ass whooping. So then we get the credits, and that's when I remember that the main white dude, with the jawline, his name is DeVille. Pretty on the nose there. Overall, decent little popcorn flick. I would have rather watched it at home as opposed to in a theater, but it's hot, so I love the theater. Very, very on the nose in a lot of places. But overall, it's okay. I'd give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Just presuming I do star ratings. So that's it. Go check it out. Give me your thoughts. But again, immediately I was like, oh, they're fucking vampires. Everything was shrouded in darkness and mystery, and they weren't like shooting anybody, and it was all gothic in nature. It was okay. So yeah, go check it out if you want. If not, you just heard me tell you about it, so probably don't need to. Give me a follow on Instagram, on Twitter, at TikTok, at Martin M. Morrow, spelled like tomorrow. I got some shows coming up as well in Los Angeles, San Diego, Oxford, Mississippi, Florida, all over. So Alabama. Come check it out. I hope you have a good rest of your day, morning, night, evening, weekend, weekday, work day, day off, whatever you're doing. Thanks for checking it out. Peace.